In today's video, I'll show you how to use answers in Typeform to pre-populate iClosed. We'll go through this in 4 simple steps: setting up your Typeform with the right fields, matching those fields inside iClosed with the correct identifiers, building your redirect URL inside Typeform so answers flow automatically, and lastly, testing the full flow so your leads pre-fill perfectly every single time. And the best part? No Zapier is needed for this. Before we dive in, if you're not on iClosed yet, use the link in the description below. It's the exact same tool we're using in this entire tutorial, and it's built specifically for closers who want clean, qualified lead data without the manual entry. The link's down there. Grab it and follow along. Alright, for step 1, we're going to be building our Typeform with the exact fields that will map into iClosed. Open up Typeform and either create a new form or open an existing one that you already have. The key here is making sure your question types are compatible. iClosed works best with short text, email, phone number, and multiple choice fields. Now for me, I'm going to be creating a new form. And in here, there's going to be an AI asking you what specific form you'd like to create. You can either fill this up or start from scratch, which is what I'm going to be doing. In this tab, you can choose the initial question you want to ask to the invitee. In this case, we're going to be choosing short text. As you can see, you can put your question here and in description if needed. And then this is where the invitee can type in their answer. Once you have that set up, if you have another question, click on Add Content, click on Short Text, and then fill it out with a question again. Once that is set up, you can then add your qualifying questions like, what is your biggest challenge, or what is your current annual revenue? In this case, I went with annual revenue, and then name your form with something clear, like Discovery Call Application or iClosed Typeform Workflow. That way, it is easy to identify later. So you can do this by clicking on the new form on the upper left and then putting in the preferred name of your choice. Once that is filled out, you can click on Save. Make sure that your custom questions match exactly the answer options you will be setting up inside iClosed. We'll come back to why this matters in the next step. Before we touch the Typeform redirect, we need to set up the receiving side in iClosed first. Go to your iClosed dashboard, click on AI Scheduler on the left, click on Events, and then click on the event that you have created if you were watching my previous video. If you have not seen it, you can click on Create New Event, fill in the details as usual, and then come back to the video. Once you're in here, you're going to be clicking on Invitee Questions. Here you will see your form questions, the ones your lead fills out before booking. For every question you want to pre-fill from Typeform, you will need to set a unique identifier. So most of these questions are already default, which is set by iClosed, and you don't need to set up a unique identifier for these. But if you're going to be adding a new question, you'll notice that there's a field name where you can put in the question, and then there is an identifier which shortens this name. That way you can put it in the link easier than usual. For example, if I have a question indicating what is your biggest challenge, if I leave that as is, we're going to be putting in that whole question into the identifier for the URL, and that's not a good practice. So what you want is to shorten this into a unique identifier. That way the link will look shorter and easier to manage. In this case, the example I would give is biggest challenge as a unique identifier. Once you have that filled up, click on Add Question, and you'll see that below the initial custom question that you made. Think of the identifier like a label that tells iClosed which Typeform answer belongs to which field. These exact identifiers, spelled exactly the same way, will go into your Typeform redirect URL later in the next step. And here's the critical rule. The answer questions on your Typeform must match exactly what is in your iClosed account. Same spelling, capitalization, and same words. Real quick, if you want to follow along on the iClosed side of this, the link is in the description below. It is the fastest way to getting your account set up while we walk through this together. Let's keep going. Now we're going to be building the actual redirect URL that sends your Typeform answers into iClosed automatically. This is the part where most people get confused, so let's break it down carefully. Inside your Typeform questions, you can look at the bottom left and click on Endings. In here, you can choose your ending type, either end screen or redirect the URL. You'll have to choose the latter. Now, instead of sending leads directly to your iClosed event URL, you want to send them to the web page where your iClosed scheduler is embedded. Here is the structure of the URL we're building. First comes your web page URL from iClosed, and then a question mark after that. Then we start adding parameters one by one by using an ampersand sign. So this is how the initial link would look like. It will be the iClosed link, your username, and your event name. Anything after the question mark that you're going to be adding is called a parameter. Each parameter has 2 points. The field name on the left, which identifies where it's supposed to go, and then the answer coming from Typeform on the right. Now, instead of typing static values like the name itself, Typeform lets us insert dynamic variables. Now, when filling out the parameters, the unique identifier for iClosed questions, which is the default ones, is just iClosed and then the name of the question. For example, if you want to pre-fill the email address of the form, you'll have to write in iClosed and then email. This is case sensitive, so you want to make sure that this is not tampered with, and then add the equal sign right after. At this point, instead of typing static variables, you can type @ and then recall information from the form, in this case email address, and then you can see that it will turn into a variable block, which is replaced by what the invitee is filling up on the form. Once you're done, the next question will be separated by an ampersand sign, and then you can proceed in adding your next question. Once you have cleared out the default questions of iClosed, and you're going to be doing your custom questions now, one of the biggest issues is thinking that you'll still be using the initial identifier called iClosed. That is not the case. Going back to the questions, always remember that you have set a unique identifier here, and this is the only thing that you need to be copying in for the URL. So if you go back to the URL, input your questions, you're not going to be typing iClosed biggest challenge. That will not work. Instead, you can just write out biggest challenge and then the equal sign, followed by the @ sign, and then put in the information block from the Typeform answers. Your structure should now look like this. Remember, the identifier names must match exactly what you created inside iClosed. Same spelling and same capitalization. Even if one character is different, the field may not populate correctly. Once your full redirect URL is built and all your variables are inserted correctly, save your Typeform changes, and then we can proceed to testing it. Now we're going to be testing the entire flow from end to end and make sure every field is passing correctly into iClosed. All you need to do is to copy the link that you created, paste it in the browser, and then fill in the fields manually yourself. Because of course you didn't fill the form as intended, so you have to pre-fill these fields and then just check if it's going through in iClosed. Once you have filled it up, you can click on enter and look at the iClosed form. All of the fields should already be filled in automatically from the field parameters that you have just added. That is exactly what Typeform is doing in behind the scenes. It's building that same URL automatically and passing your leads real answers into every field. If any of the field goes blank, go back to step 3 and check 2 things. Number 1 is to check if your parameter name matches your exact identifier inside iClosed. And second, your answer option spelling matches exactly what you said in your invitee questions. Those 2 mismatches are the only reason this won't ever work. Here's a bonus tip that takes this whole system to the next level. Once you have pre-population working, you can turn on a feature inside iClosed called pre-qualified form skipping. If you go back to the iClosed event, scroll down on invitee questions, you'll be able to turn this on. When you enable this toggle, leads who arrive from your Typeform redirect with all of their data pre-filled will skip the iClosed form entirely and land directly on the calendar booking slots, as seen here. No double entry, no friction. The lead will be going from your Typeform straight to picking a time slot, and iClosed already has all of the data included. That's how you maximize your show rates and close more deals. That's pretty much the full system. You built your Typeform, set up your iClosed invitee questions with the right identifiers, built your redirect URL to pass answers automatically. You've also tested out the full flow and crossed out any mistakes that you made. You've even enabled pre-qualified form skipping, so your best leads go straight into booking. The goal here isn't perfection. It's getting the integration live so your pipeline starts filling automatically without any manual work. If you haven't started on iClosed yet, set up your account right now using the link in the description below. It is the closest thing you'll find to a fully automated qualification and booking system for high-ticket sales. If you have any questions, you can drop them down in the comments and I'll be answering every single question. I'll see you in the next one.